by chance met Tom Reber and the Contractor Fight. And for the last 2 years, I spent in the coaching world, and I was so fascinated by the hiring procedure that the Contractor Fight used. I worked with the person that they were using at the time to do that hiring process, and he's actually my mentor, and got certified in multiple assessment tools. And now I actually help people, like I said, with hiring, training, sales training, leadership, communication.
Awesome. So I know you kind of skipped over that, but tell me how you happened to meet Tom, being in real estate in Texas, and he's in construction in Colorado.
So it was super random, and it had to do with COVID life. And I was tired of wasting time watching Netflix and, going out. I thought, okay, I could be building wealth, managing my time better, learning something. And so I looked on, I was looking for like a part-time gig to do in the evening, and I wasn't really even super serious about it, but I came across an ad they had on a page called hiremymom.com or .org something. And this is really bad. I shouldn't say this, but I wasn't super serious, and you had to be a member to use that site. So I kind of went back channel to figure out who is this guy and what is this company, messaging him on Facebook, and we had a conversation. So I started out as a relationship manager a couple hours a week for the Contractor Fight. And I loved the people. The community there is so strong. And Tom just really brings out the best in people. And then the team there at the Contractor Fight, all of the coaches like yourself and Art Snarzik and Chris Dwyer, and all of the coaches there help people really become successful in their business.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, I highly recommend you check out the Contractor Fight. Great resources, whether you're a residential or commercial contractor, for really diving in and looking at your business and how to do it better, which, I had Steve on the show not too long ago, and his main point was it's all about mindset. No matter where you want to start, it's all about changing your mindset is the first thing. So I think if you haven't checked out that episode yet, that's a great one to check out. All right. I know we have a list of questions we want to get into, but I did see on your profile that you're excellent at helping us set and reach goals. So as we roll into this new year, when this airs, we might be into the new year already. How do you help people set goals and then and how to reach them? What does that look like?
Well, I think it's really important to look at what you're really good at and find out what the members of your team are really good at. So one of the assessment tools that I use is DISC. And DISC shows how people behave, how they handle problems and challenges, how they interact with people. And then their driving forces is another aspect of that tool. And that tells why people do things the way they do. We can also look at emotional intelligence to see how people, are they aware of their own emotions? Can they self-regulate? Can they read a room and regulate the emotions and the mood of the room? And all of this comes together to have more engagement from your employees. So as we go into this like uncertain times for the economy, it becomes so important to have employee engagement, because you gain so much productivity when your employees are engaged, when you know what they're good at and when they know what to expect, what you expect from them, loyalty.
So I know this assessment gives a lot of individual things. So how do you use this as a boss or as a leader, as a company? Do you create individual plans for each person? What is that? Once you get this information, how do you use it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I go into an organization and we decide, what are the problems you're dealing with? Is this a hiring issue? Do you have a revolving door where people are constantly, you're hiring and they're leaving, they're not a good fit, or, you're not happy with them, or they're not happy with the company. It just isn't a good fit. Or are you, is it a sales problem? Are your salespeople not connecting with your clients? So we figure out what's the problem that you're having, and then choose an assessment tool that will uncover the potential of the employees and the productivity for your company.
What's an example of what that would look like?
Yeah. So if you're having an issue with hiring, I think what I would do is, do an assessment of you, find out what your behavior style is. Are you a very direct communicator, or are you more receptive? Are you, how does your behavior style impact who you're hiring? Are you trying to hire someone to do the jobs that you don't want to do? Do you need to hire someone just like you, or someone to complement you? So figure out what that is. We can benchmark the position. What type of person, what behavior style would be best for this position? And then tailor a job posting, the ad for that job, to attract that type of person. Once we attract those people, you do a couple of interviews, we do an assessment, a hiring assessment, and see, okay, this person does meet, the behavior style that we need for this position. And then take that a step farther. What are their driving forces? What motivates this person? And then you can see, are they in line with yours? Are they going to come in and be really helpful? Do they value return on investment? What are your driving forces, and are they aligned with yours and your company's? And then look at their emotional intelligence and see, okay, is this person going to blow up if things don't go right? Can they manage their own emotions? Are they going to walk out on us? Or, what type of person are we bringing in? Are we bringing someone in that's highly emotional intelligent, or is going to just blow up and possibly cost you money?
It sounds all very important information, especially this last year's kind of been crazy. I don't know. As a business owner, have experienced, and I've talked to contractors from all over the country that kind of had the same thing, that people are changing and no one wants to stay, right? Right. Have you dealt with that at all this year, or how have you helped people specifically in the construction industry deal with that issue of getting and keeping employees?
Absolutely. And that's probably the biggest thing that I hear from people is the employee engagement problem. And you hear, you've heard, millennials, young people, they don't want to work. People don't want to work. It's not that people don't want to work. People now are demanding an environment where there is engagement, where they're being heard, where they're valued, where their employer is investing in them. And this type of assessment tool shows that investment. You don't bring in someone to do the assessment tools and then, you're not a good fit for this position, so we're going to out you. You bring it in for your current people, and you can see, this person is their driving force. Their number one driving force is knowledge. So maybe we should be using this person not only for the things that they're currently doing really well, but they could do the research for us and teach us how to use this new project software, or this new tool that we're doing, or we really need someone to take over our charity giving for the company. And so you find, this person, that's something that really drives them. And so they may not be completely engaged with their with their current position, but if you could say, we would like you to manage our giving this year for the holidays or whatever. And so they're like, okay, well, now I'm more engaged in my job because I'm doing something I love there on top of, doing the job that I was hired to do and that I have to do too. But so there's different ways of building engagement without losing your current people. But then as you hire new people, you get the right person in the job. I just read an article, Karalynn, that says, the labor force, if you hire the wrong person, it can cost you up to 30% of their salary the first year. So the average is like $15,000 for a bad hire. If you at a $50,000 pay range, it's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so if you can improve that hiring from day one, and the onboarding and the communication, the leadership, that revolving door disappears.
And it's hard as a boss, right? Especially like, my parents were baby boomers, and you think as a boss, what motivates people is money. And what I'm finding out is, especially the younger generations, that is not what motivates them. That is not what they, that's something, yes, they'll take into consideration, but they'd rather have more time, or they'd rather, be ahead of the charity division. It's a lot different than, I don't know, than my perspective of when I was an employee. I was just like, I'll work harder to get a raise to get more money. And it's a very different perspective out there now. And it's been a year of learning, what does that look like?
Right. Well, when we think about, I mean, my parents, my grandparents, it was like, you put in your time. You got to put in your time. And it was, the grind. And there are still some people that kind of have that mentality, and, they're fine with working 7 days a week. And, but I think for the most part, we're shifting to see people want better experiences. And like you said, it's not about money. I mean, you can throw all the money in the world at someone that wants to have Fridays off at noon, and, they're just not going to stay. So how can you create those experiences for the people that you have, and let them know you value them and you're invested in them, and just have a better culture altogether in your office?
So I know we've talked about using these assessment tools for your business. How can you use it for like personal development?
That's a great question. That's, when I first got into this, I had my daughters both do the assessment, and one of my daughters and I, when we disagreed, we just clashed, and we couldn't get to I couldn't figure out, okay, I raised this person. I made her. How come I can't communicate and figure her out? And once I saw her on paper, now I realized our behavior styles are so different. She's a very high C, which means she's very detail oriented. She has a set of rules, and then her driving forces are different also. So now when I can't follow her rules, and I don't do the details like she does, we have to agree to disagree. But now that I know that, I can communicate with her better. So personally, just understanding where a person's coming from, why they do things the way they do, and how they do things, and understanding that it's not good or bad, it's just different.
I was going to say, do you try to change what you find in your assessment, or are you just, and here's the other question. Do you try to change it, and is it always the same, or will it progress or change? I'm curious.
So typically how you behave doesn't change necessarily unless you have a major life event, a death or a job change, loss, things, major changes in your life. Then your DISC might change how you do things. And then your driving forces can change more often, just based on different things in your life that are important at that time. And then emotional intelligence is something that you can constantly work on and improve.
And so how do you do that? For like me, I have a really hard time sometimes controlling my initial reaction to things. Mm-hmm. How do you work on improving something like that?
Well, so I think you have to, obviously doing the assessment, understanding how you do the things you do and why you do the things that you do. So having that understanding better of yourself, understanding the people around you, figuring out what triggers you, and then how can you take a step back and have better self-control of those emotional triggers and reactions.
Because usually when you're triggered, it's not really the other person. It's something that you're missing, or something that you're perceiving based on something that's inside you, right?
Right. So understanding what those emotions are. I mean, I say to some in a workshop, I'll say, okay, what are some common emotions? And people are like, I don't know. I can't think of any. But we send emojis all day long. You're happy, you're sad, you're afraid, you're anticipating. So think about what are the emotions and what gets you there. And so what triggered you? You have, I know your assessment, you're a very urgent person. So
Yes.
when people don't have the same sense of urgency for tasks that you do, and you're very competitive, when people don't share that with you, I think it triggers you because you don't get it. Like, what are you doing? Like, why is everyone as urgent and competitive as me? Yeah. So, understanding that is who you are, and not everyone is that way. I think in contracting, this comes up a lot because, you've got your leader who is maybe very urgent and very competitive and needs to get things done at a faster pace. You hire a finish carpenter who is, very detail oriented and wants to get it perfect. And so you've got the leader saying, what is taking so long? Get it done, get it done, get it done. And then this finish carpenter's like, it's got to be perfect. We got to slow down. And so there's this disconnect. And then it's not just between the leader and the carpenter. You've also got the person that's purchased the product, whether it's the homeowner or the business, wherever you're doing this work, and whatever their driving forces are and whatever their behaviors are. So you've got all these things coming together, and everyone's expectations based on their own preferences and driving forces and behaviors. So there's a lot of problems. And I think that's, that contributes to that revolving door. So it's not only important to train the leader, but it's important to train the people that you're working with too.
No, absolutely. And I think too, I mean, I'm pointing all this out with all the different personality styles. It's amazing to me how many of these jobs don't end up in litigation because if you do a really good job explaining it, you won't, but a lot of the times it's hard to get there. And just, dealing with people, you're in their home, you're touching their stuff and dealing with that personality type. And so, I think it's really hard for contractors not only manage their people, but then deal with their homeowners' emotions as well. It's a lot. And in my experience, it's not something that they thought of when they started the business,
right.
Especially when it was easy to hire people. But now it's become more of a challenge to hire and keep people. So,
right.
So what are a few takeaways you can, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think not only for hiring, not only using it for hiring, but contractors and any salespeople also can use this for the sales process too, and understanding what's motivating people. And I think, you talk about emotional intelligence and awareness, but I think the biggest thing that people need to understand is listening, not just to the person's words, but to their nonverbals and, the environment around you, to really understand who you're talking to in a sales process also.
So on that, do you do individual coaching with one-on-one, or do you just do business coaching? Kind of tell me a little bit more about the details of what your business offers and what you do.
I do. Okay. So I coach individually, where we figure out kind of what problem the person's having or what they want to improve. And then I have several different assessment tools that I can use for that. And then I also work with companies to go in and help their people and culture situations, help them hire better, maybe reposition people if they feel like they're not getting the most out of their people. If there's a company that's getting ready to go through some change, we do some change. I can do some change management type tools also. So, and then once I go in and do a workshop for a company, sometimes I'll go back and do one-on-ones to make sure that each employee understands and knows how to communicate. If you've got two people in your organization that aren't getting along very well or having difficulty communicating, we can do a side-by-side with their assessments and point out areas for improvement in communication for those two people also. I also work with couples. We've done a couple of contractors had me work with them individually for their business, or done a workshop for their business, and then go back and do an assessment with their spouse or which is really fun too, because there's these aha moments like, oh, that's why we don't get along here or there. And so I joke, I won't even date someone until they've done an assessment.
Well, it's hard enough being spouses, but most of these guys are spouses that work together on a full-time basis.
Yeah. Well, and I've uncovered some things there, like, why do you have this person doing this when your wife is going to be so much better at that? Or, I've used it, I've helped people hire, and one guy had picked two candidates. And so we assessed both candidates. And of course he was like, oh, this one's great. I really like her. She feels like a better fit. Like, I think we'd get along really well. And then we look at the assessments and I'm like, I'm sure you do get along because she's just like you, but you're not replacing you. You're looking to hire someone to do the things that you're not good at. So you really need to pick this person and learn how to get along with her, because she's going to be more profitable and productive. She's going to be the right person for what you need her to do, not to hang out with.
Yeah. You got to hire for your weaknesses, right? Because you can't be good at everything.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. So tell us where we can find out about you and where we can find out about all your information. If somebody wanted to hire you or reach out, where can we find you?
So I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you can email me directly at realnicolelane@gmail.com. And I'm sure we're going to put all of the information in the link for the podcast too.
Yep, in the show notes. Yeah, we will have it, and we'll cross promote, and we'll be all over. So thank you so much for taking the time today. Is there any last bits that we didn't cover that you would like to throw in here?
No, I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to meet you here on your podcast, and just want to help out.
Guys, I hope you hang out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks,
Karalynn.
Hey guys, this is Karalynn Cromans. Thank you for listening to an episode of the Quit Getting Screwed podcast. Hey guys, if you need help, liens, collections, contracts, we do it all. We do it in all 50 states for a flat fee and a predictable time frame. If you want to know more, reach out to us on our website, thecromanslawfirm.com, which is in the show notes. Thanks.
So you're talking to Kim too?